You have to admire our criminal justice system for its sheer audacity. Just for grins, I emailed the scam alert link for Benton County District Attorney John Harrelson. I then proceeded to relate the events of a Meth Awareness assembly at Philomath High School as if it were a public presentation selling goods or services. Which it is, selling our war on drugs. In this meeting, the only evidence presented was testimonial and anecdotal evidence. That, I knew for a fact, was very atypical and dramatic. Not only that, but they brought in outside paid testimonials. Neither the nature of the evidence nor the compensation for testimony was disclosed to the audience. Prior to that presentation, I had notified one of the sellers, the Philomath School Board, and told them that without disclosure, this was fraud. I was promptly told by Superintendent Tawana that unless specifically false claims were made, it wasn't lying or fraud, just a difference of opinion. Needless to say, Harrelson didn't buy Tawana's argument and wanted more details, like how extensive the scam was. When he was told that it was his very own sheriff's department and the Philomath School District, and it was a nationwide scam run by the DEA, he lost interest. But, to quote the late great Billy Mays, there's more! Not only that, but the convicted violent felons who spoke, I was strictly forbidden to speak by the police, insisted that their use of meth led them to a life of crime, totally failing to mention the ridiculous price due to the very nature of the policy being promoted. This is the exact equivalent of having the sellers of meth tout their product as part of a diet regimen. By the way, regimen is a term used by sellers of arbitrarily legal drugs in order to promote over-reliance and drug dependency to increase sales, citing rare but dramatic weight loss, while totally failing to mention the chronic and severe sleeplessness that went with the use. My bet is that the managers and editors of the Corvallis Gazette-Times and KEZI-TV might refuse to run these ads. At the very least, they would insist on a disclosure like mentioning chronic and severe sleeplessness as a rare but serious side effect. Of course, rare but serious side effect is how sellers of arbitrarily legal drugs describe problems related to the chronic use and abuse of their drugs. Or they may not. After all, they are not noted for ethics. Yet their editors and managers have absolutely no problem whatsoever with publicizing statements by law enforcement scam artists making similar claims without disclosure. Some of you might believe my analogy is out there. You must be reminded the current drug policy has absolutely no actual measurable standards for harm and risk, and meth could just as easily be arbitrarily legal, which it was for most of its lifetime. And it was originally sold as a diet aid with similar outcomes on an even larger scale than today, before doctors began informing the public of problems and steering consumers away from use. Of course, the problems had absolutely nothing to do with why meth is illegal. How do I know? I was there at the presentation, and no one that was allowed to speak made any mention whatsoever of the real problems with meth use when it was legal. Law enforcement really has no interest in actual public safety. But wait, there's even more. Despite all the health problems with chronic use and abuse of legal meth, and yes, it's always about chronic use and abuse that is often deliberately promoted by sellers, whether the drug is legal or banned. Crime was not a problem with legal meth. While nicotine fiends require $10 a week to satisfy their addictions, and legal meth users possibly up to $20 a week, although when meth was legal, our less potent varieties were available to curb urges. A meth head addiction today costs upwards of $100 a week, which leads to crime. This brings us to the Three Stooges, purveyors of lowbrow slapstick comedy. In one of their shorts, our hapless heroes worked for an extermination company during the Depression. They drum up business by inspecting for termites and other pests to protect homes from damage. And while they do this, they bring in termites in order to sell their extermination services. While some may find the Three Stooges' antics amusing, I seriously doubt that anyone who has been victimized by drug addicts, by burglary, identity theft, or violent crime, or known someone killed or seriously injured in a drive-by shooting or exploding meth house finds the identical scam run by law enforcement even mildly amusing. Just don't go to your local prosecutor to clamp down on this scam. Don't even bother with your elected officials. They will be facing re-election against another accomplice to the scam. If you vote for one of these accomplices as the lesser evil, you have little cause for complaint. Don't expect to be allowed to speak out at any length in a public discussion about drug problems. They don't want to hear you. You might even get arrested. I was, for speaking the truth too forcefully. That's why I wear this shirt. They can't arrest you for wearing a shirt yet. But wait until they update the hate crimes laws.